All right, there you go, Beau. Take it away.
Okay. Well, good morning and good afternoon. I appreciate you showing up. In fact, I think there's a good evening across the pond. I'm glad you're all here. I'm now in the third short stop in my series of 6. And these are really mini courses that are intended to help you think through how you'd like to emerge from the pandemic and create a better adaptability to what you're doing now. And this short stop is, if I can get it, there. Insight number 3, how do the best leaders avoid being overstretched? And I'd like a quick refresher from last week. You guys hopefully recognize this. These are capacity buckets. And we talked last week about the left side being in the current state, in which if we look at our capacity for 40 hours a week, we see we do some good work and we do some other work. And what we like to do in the future state is do more good work and less of the other stuff. So that's the background of the conversation I'm talking about now, but this, instead of being for plants or organizations, this is specific to leaders and workers. So if we take a look at what we did, what we've been doing for quite some time, we worry a lot about the work that's done on the front line. And in pre-transformation, we look at their work and see they do some good work and some work that we term non-value added. And what we do as we transform is to have them understand their work, challenge their work, and then rationalize their work to end up with way more good work and less value add. And then they're running down the road at 100 miles an hour, way more productive. Unfortunately, it typically stops there, because when we get to managers and leaders, we kind of forgot to do that. So in pre-transformation, we see some good work and some not so good work that leaders and managers do. And we come along and say, hey, here's some really cool new work you should be doing. And we kind of add it to their plate. And all of a sudden, the capacity bucket is overflowing. So when I think of some of my Motown favorites, one's Marvin Gaye. And my question now is, what's going on? I don't get it. So we'll stay with the Motown theme for just a moment and go to the great lady Aretha and say, I just want a little bit of respect, just a little bit. Because what we're missing in here is a capacity challenge for the managers and leaders. We have not given them the opportunity to document, analyze, assess, rationalize, challenge how they do their good work when we add more to it. And I believe that that gap is fundamental disrespect of how we approach leaders and managers as we transform the organization. So I'd like to add just a little bit of respect moving forward. And I'd like to suggest that we create a new goal. To the best leaders focus on work. I think our new goal should be do only important work. And as you think about that, it's actually a time for at least a few minutes of reflection. You could talk about what have we learned about our work that's, especially now, that's most valuable to sustain or grow our business. And what have we learned is not as valuable? That's a general question to ponder. So your new assignment, the rest of this webinar is actually your assignment. That's the concept. Here's the assignment. I'd like you to identify 2 to 3 strategic goals to attain in the next 18 to 24 months. I realize you may have had goals in January, they could have changed. And I only want you to pick 2 or 3, because if you pick more than that, you won't get any of them done. And I believe you probably know what I'm talking about. Pick 2 or 3 that you need to nail. And then document, challenge, and rationalize your existing work with respect to what's important to do. And if these strategic goals are the ones important to do, then you need to focus on how you compare and contrast what you're doing to the strategic goals. and talk up your new thinking. Share your thoughts with people about this. This is really important to get some capacity back. So the question for you, what do you really do? I don't care what your title is. I don't care what your job description is. It doesn't matter. What do you actually do? So what is it? How long or often do you do it? And who do you do it with or for? Now, I know you probably have hundreds of things. You can fill up 10 sheets of paper. That's not my purpose. Focus on the bulk, the ones that really rob you or take up, rather, absorb 80, 85% of your time. The rest of it is a bunch of little things. I don't want to worry about that yet. So that's what we need to focus on. And I have a tool to help. You have a copy of this right now in a folder waiting for you to help you fill this out. You are in the middle of this slide. That's you in the yellow. And when you do work, you usually do it for peers, your boss, customers, or subordinates. That just about covers it. And I think if you take a look at this template, you can actually start to fill in what is it you really do and how often do you do it. This will give you a baseline of what you're looking at in terms of your work. Then when you're done with that, you get to challenge it by saying, what should I stop doing? I'm overflowing. My plate is way over full. So I honestly believe that everything you do was once well-intentioned, but it may no longer be necessary. Well, what is it? Maybe we ought to cut that out. Or another way to look at it is what eats up your time that doesn't help you move forward with respect to those 2 or 3 strategic goals that you have to nail in 18 to 24 months. That's the only thing that's important now. You have to get 2 years down the road. So that's what you should be working on. Some examples: unprofitable products or services. They may have been bad to begin with in January. They could be really bad now. Maybe we ought to stop working on them and just drop them. Or maybe there are meetings not focused on those 2 or 3 strategic needs. Maybe there's programs of the month that never die. Or decisions that you make that could just as well be made by others, and you're just adding overhead. So as you walk through that and challenge it, my question to you is, how much capacity can you free up? So here's a little example. I haven't filled in the blanks. I've just shown you in color code what might make sense to challenge. And what's in purple is my example of what you may challenge. It could be meetings, it could be services, they could be programs of the month, whatever. And if you go through and kind of check those and see how much capacity you can free up, you can actually get a number. And in this case, it's 11 hours a week. So that's pretty good. So that's how you basically start thinking about how to stop doing some of this stuff. Now, there is an example. I have another PDF file available for you now that is the actual work of an executive VP inside my circle of shingle people. So this is the Shingle Institute company. It's very well known. And he listened to me talk about this once, and he was flying home from the conference that I presented at, and he started writing stuff down like crazy. What should I stop doing? This is his list of what he should stop doing. Hiring approvals, hourly wage increases, budgets, capital expenditures, etc. That was his list. And his rationale to me was, listen, I'm just overhead. I have different kind of work than these guys, but I'm absolutely convinced the people who report to me can do this without me. Just keep me informed. Now, your work is different. You're not all executive VPs, but the challenge is the same. How do you think differently about your work, and what shouldn't exist at all? And by the way, in this example, I asked him how much time he saved. He said he saved over 15 hours a week just by doing this. So the best leaders are not overstretched because they work differently. Pre-transformation, they have a combination of good work and not so good work. Now, they have a combination of good work, the new good stuff, and not so much of that not so good. And they can travel down the road in 100 miles an hour too. So that's the end of this insight. Closing it out, I really think that this is a unique time. We need to strive to learn better ways to manage. And right now we can do it. Some of you said 100% of my work I'm challenging. And if we discard what no longer makes sense, we'll have time to do some really, really good work as leaders and managers. And so we may have already begun this process. That's fine. Don't stop now. Formalize the thinking. Formalize it. Have good discussions. And make sure you get feedback, because as you take away work, someone will be impacted. You need to have a discussion. And in doing so, you can find the time to reduce your work time. So that's the end of the webinar itself. Friday office hour remains the same. I've given you the templates with you in the middle to work on and sketch out. And I've given you an example of the executive VP and the work that he's dropped. Those are both PDFs. And I'd like you to start doing this and see how far you get. I hope on Friday we'll have a chance to have some interactive discussions and talk about some roadblocks or some progress, and most of all, the collaborative networking. We don't get as many people on Friday as we do on Mondays. You guys are missing something. There's actually some really good discussions on Friday, and I think it's really important for you guys to learn from each other, because these things might seem easy on the surface, but you could get challenged. And it's great to have other people to talk to. This is your opportunity to do so. Now, next Monday, this now passes the halfway point. Next Monday is insight number 4. The topic is seeing beyond a technical solution. And I have a request. Attendance is mandatory for all engineers. I'm an engineer and I'm showing up. I suggest you grab one and bring him or her too. Eric?
Yeah, Beau, thank you for that. Why don't you go ahead and stop share and